So this gives you already an idea of where English is. Only 27% of the internet is in English. I was working for an internet marketing company before joining Lingo24, and just little more than 5 years ago, more than 50% of the internet was in English. So as you can see, the slice is shrinking, and therefore the big opportunities lie outside the English-speaking world. And the other important factor that we have to take into consideration is that even when people are fluent in English, they are 4 times more likely to buy a product if the information provided is provided in their language. So, as you see, English is at the bottom here of the page. And English has grown over the last 10, 11 years about 300%. But look how it compares to certain languages like Chinese with 1,400 or almost 1,500%, or Arabic with 2,500%. So as you can see, other European languages, they also had quite good growth, but it looks like the biggest growth opportunities at the moment are really in the new emerging economies. If we look at the reasons, for example, why it is very interesting and important for a business to go into these markets, is that although English is shrinking as a language presence on the internet, it's still the biggest language in the sense that there are many English-speaking countries around the world, and it's also the language of commerce, and therefore there is a lot of competition to present products in English online. What you want to do, basically, as you can see, we're having the metaphor of the fishing rods. What you need to do is to experiment a little bit, and Flim actually allows you to do that quite easily. You want to try a few markets and see which ones respond best to your sales pitch. There are some simple ways of doing it. You can start with a very small microsite, and that will help you to see how that market reacts to your product. And if you do that in several markets, then you will then only develop further the ones that seem more interested and successful. And it doesn't cost too much, but the ROI tends to be very high. This is data that we got from the Localization Industry Standards Association, which is an American association of localization. And they say that for every $1 that you invest in localization, you'll get a return of $25. Of course, you have to get it right, but that's an average that they found. So it's really worth a go. And to prove this, we have a couple of case studies. So this is Fusam, that's a Swedish custom watch company. And they have a Swedish, English, Danish and German sites. And as soon as they got on the internet, they got a 300% increase in online traffic. And the Danish website, let's remember this is a Swedish company, provided a complete ROI in fewer than 2 months. So this is, quite an exemplary story that could actually be quite motivating for some of you. And I suppose everyone knows Skyscanner. This flight comparison site launched in 2003. They decided to try their hand at foreign language internet in 2006. And now they translate their content in 23 different languages, and they deal in 60 currencies. But in certain countries, they had a runaway success, like in Russia, where the hits skyrocketed from 30,000 to over 1 million hits in 18 months. And also, out of the 15.5 million turnover, now 10.8 million is from overseas. Well, for this particular donut, I would say that you would need 50% of localized and translated web content. So when translated means simply translated from one language to the next. Localized is when you want to make it relevant to the local market. So you can translate into Spanish, but then you have to make it relevant to the Argentinian market or the Mexican market. So you have to make sure that each website you create is actually very relevant to your target public. Then there is a 25% of multilingual SEO. So once you have a very nice translated website, which is also localized for a local market, without SEO, they won't find it. So you will need to make sure that you go through a thorough SEO strategy and to try and promote your website and to get as much traffic as possible onto your website. We'll see that a little bit more in detail in the next slide. Then the other elements are 10%, it's a country domain. What happens is that people, when they're searching for products and for brands, they tend to trust more those that have the country domain of their country. Maybe because they feel it's more familiar or that it's really addressed to them. And as we said, keyword research, there was the example of Volley low cost, but there are also other things. I mean, in Argentina, for example, if you say bombacha, apparently it means it's a type of trousers that they wear in the country and it's buttoned at the bottom. In Spain, it's a type of female underwear. So it is Spanish in both cases, but you have to be really careful, But think in English as well, the difference between biscuit and cookie, or cell phone and mobile phone, and all that, Okay, so as we said, local knowledge is imperative. There is another aspect that is very important. You have to be aware that Google is not universal. It is present basically everywhere, but there's no point in being #1 on Google in China because 82% of the Chinese market is served by Baidu, which is their search engine. Same applies to Russia, where Yandex is the main search engine, and there are a couple of other countries that have similar exceptions. So these are things that you will have to be really careful about when you're going out there. So bearing in mind all these exceptions and the warnings that I've given until now, these are the tools that you can find also online. This is Google Global Market Finder. So for example, you just put your country provenance and your language. You put the keyword watches, and the countries you want to focus on are G20. And you can see what the monthly searches have been for that word in those countries. And it gives you an idea of the opportunity, at least from the point of view of traffic in those countries. What it also gives you is the suggested bid. And as you can see, the English-speaking markets are more expensive in this case. Quite a lot more expensive.
Sorry, is this keyword in English?
Yeah, what Google does, they use their Google Translate tool. Of course, that's where we say, be careful, we'll complement that with our local people and make sure that the Google Translate version is actually the one that people would actually use. But it already gives you a sort of idea. If anything, it gives you an idea of the monthly searches for that word, which is already a good indicator. But again, as I said, if people only search the product but don't buy, if you're a retailer, that's no good. You have to do other things as well. So to summarize a little bit what we've said so far, foreign language internet marketing, yes, it is a golden opportunity for brands. And with a less saturated market, it means high rankings and high ROI, but the local knowledge is needed.